I'll make it easier.
Right. I'll put this together, and if I do that, then you'll see what I'm doing.
Oh wow, that's an amazing setup you got.
Well, the thing is, it's all designed to sort of independently record, because God forbid, I would fuck up on a live cut. Now, I'm not entirely sure if I resemble that smirk, Sean.
Well, you're a funny dude, so I appreciate
Well,
how
I suppose
you.
I've got to get into shape for the conference which is happening, which Brian is doing. Brian and Ida. Just let's make
Yeah,
sure
get the
that's okay.
ladies. Yeah, yeah, that's a good idea. I like that. I would too, but I'm also I wish somebody already.
Right.
But yeah, I like to work out. So, yeah, are you interested in super strength and unlimited energy?
Yes.
Cool. I've been doing it really well and working out every day to where I'm addicted to it. The secrets are in the solar plexus, and there's all this attachment.
All
These
here.
fucker entities treat us like batteries. I love the shirt. Ooh,
Well, I got
ISIS.
this at the Luxor Hotel when I was over at the UFO Congress Mark Third one way back in 1994, I think. And I hope this is all working. I think this, yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. And I was under attack. Had soul damage, a lot of other things, and I had to learn a hell of a lot very quickly. And that was my first time properly in the States. Well, no, I'd been to Canada in 77, 78 and stuff. Had a really great time. Listened to the radio. I love the radio. I love American radio, Canadian. And that's where the concept of soul damage happened.
Yeah, I was wondering what you meant by that. Are you talking about for yourself?
For me,
Because
yeah, I
yeah.
took a hit, and that's when a guy called Ray Wardle, who knew John Lear. Ray Wardle was an English Italian. He had family in London, but I think he had an Italian background. And he was doing the security cameras in the casinos. And he
Mm,
would see some weird people coming in sometimes, and they weren't from around here, or they'd been done, things had been done to them. Weird looking kids, completely bald, that sort of thing.
mm.
But he was
What do you think caused it?
he was running around with his high eight, digital eight. I don't think it was digital eight then, 1984. But anyway, he did a heck of a lot of work at Red Rock Canyon, and he was picking up stuff, traveling so fast that on a freeze frame, you got two objects. So that meant with interlaced video. Do you understand the concept of interlaced video? You broadcast TV.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Well, basically, they broadcast 250 or in UK 300 lines, and they're alternate lines. That's every 50th of a second here and every 60th of a second where you are. Then they add that. And that's very important because the scan rate in the States is 10 frames. Oh, was that Highwinder? Is that you?
Oh, I
Is
see.
that me? So the point is that if you add the two together, when you scan a single picture, you've actually got two samples. You've got odd lines and even lines, right? And that object traveled during a 60th of a second. You get two images of it. That means that's moving. So between it in the 60th of a second, it's moved from here to here in 1/60th because every frame rate. So the point is that's why it's always very important not to fuck around with the pictures you get. Try, copying them, transcoding them, shoving them down the internet.
Yeah, save the
All
original.
that does a whole lot of averaging and fucking about with pixels. But at that's why I had to buy American video equipment to play this stuff back. Because if I converted it to the British system, I'd lose the whole point of the two dots. because you've got hard data there. So this is Red Rock Canyon outside Las Vegas, and you've got something traveling through the canyon. And I think if you took the time, you knew how long the TV line was. It doesn't matter how big the picture is, but you know there's so many microseconds involved, and by calculating that, so if you've done so many microseconds in a 60th of a second, you've got a velocity, you've got a speed measurement there. So this stuff's flying around.
Did anyone see it physically, or is it just?
No, this is because he's captured one object has made two appearances on a video frame, but if a video frame is interlaced, you've got one sample and then you have another sample which on the TV screen's added together, and on a picture you have got two. That gives you better motion resolution on TV. That's why TV looks smoother, and that's crucial with the alien autopsy video. The alien autopsy video, which was meant to be 24 frames per second, wasn't 24 frames per second. It was 50 interlaced frames per second, which means it's feckin' television, not 1947 film. Do you understand the difference between them? Am I confusing you?
Yeah, and I love how much of an expert you are in this.
Well, no, this is basic television.
Yeah, but not many people know what you know. So.
But this is the point. You know when you see the stagecoach and the wheels start spinning around opposite directions? That's because the frame rate of 24 frames per second and the spokes on the wheel of the stagecoach in your Western start sampling, undersampling. And the same with bit rates and sound when you undersample pictures and your sound and audio. If you have a low bit rate, your bass sounds cruddy. Does that make any sense? Am I making any sense here?
Oh, absolutely.
It's all down to sampling. So when you sample the picture,
different things with things that aren't usually captured by the human eye, that different types of cameras are able to pick up.
Yes, but that's because the reason why we are able to transmit color television is because the eye has got two types. We've got rods and cones in the eye. So the rods, I think, are at the edge, and that's designed to pick up fast motion at the edge of your vision, which means if something's coming into the edge of your vision, i.e. a predator, you turn around to look at it, and then you know what's happening. The center of the eye is focused on color. So the center of the eye paints color into the visual cortex of the brain, and you see a color, right? But the edge of the eye is focused on fast motion edge, which means if you watch carefully out of the extreme perimeter of your eyes, that's at 90 degrees to your vision. And that's where you will see externally dimensional objects or beings. If you turn around to look at them, you lose that ability because you're looking at 90 degrees. 90 degrees is very important. That's when you see edges and other dimensions, which means you'll see stuff that's not in your direct vision. And these creatures use that to their advantage.
This is good stuff. Did you want to record this? This is a great.
I'm in record now. We've done 8 minutes and 50 seconds. So, Sean, I don't want any fucking swearing on this fucking show, okay? And I wish you'd stop swearing like that.
Yeah, sorry, my mouth just like is a sailor. So, yeah.
Now, does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Which means that the alien autopsy, because it had smooth movement in it with them walking around doing all the stuff, that's interlaced television. It's got more than double the motion of things moving. Whereas if it was 24 frames per second, this is the trouble about people shooting progressive frames with their stupid DLR cameras. They've got these fantastic cameras. They've got amazing resolution, but they're only shooting at 24 frames per second, which means they've got to track the motion. Otherwise, people jerk across the screen. If you pan a 24 frame camera, you're going to get jerks. which means with cinema, with 24 frames per second, you've got to track the picture, the motion, which means cinema cameras have big dollies and they move the camera as the motion moves. Otherwise, it goes boom, 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 and your head falls apart because then suddenly see the picture shuddering. So does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you want to see slow motion action on the NFL because somebody's going for a ball, or if you're dealing with cricket, they have much faster frame rate cameras. They're shooting at maybe 250, 260 or whatever frames, really fast. Which means you play it back at slow speed, you see that action. So they'll have two dedicated fast cameras dedicated for the purposes of seeing whether the guy's over the line or not over the line.
Yeah, that's useful for that.
Right.
Now we'll next get UFO racing. Any film of different ET bodies that you prefer that has come out? Because I think there's going to be more kind of things coming out. As
now, Maria Wheatley's been. What you're talking about is really important. I mean, I do stuff with Hugh Newman, who is on Ancient Aliens, and he does Megalithomania, a big conference here in Glastonbury, which is not where they have the Glastonbury huge event. It's not actually in Glastonbury. It's at Pilton, which is up the road, and it's just up the road from where the beautiful Andrea Fawkes lives. Have you heard of her?
Yeah.
She's touchy-feely and does all sorts of things. She's also 6 feet tall, a former Miss England, and you don't argue with her. Okay?
Right.
She also has a higher pitch, a bit like Kate Bush. So, if she's going to scream, you're dead. You've seen those movies, The Shining.
She's a banshee, huh?
The banshee, yeah. Anyway, she's just lost her mother and father, and she's getting over that. And she's at Kerry Cassidy's conference in a couple of days, and I'm speaking at that with Simon Parkes, who I haven't seen it ever since he sort of got a bit shy of Charlie Ward and Sasha.
Yeah, I haven't heard from him in a while.
And I think there's a guy called Tony Topping. I will try to get this out tomorrow.
Lovely.
I'll try and get this out. Tell us your big news.
Yeah, if you need help with the soul thing, I learned soul shard retrieval when I went to Scotland, so that was really powerful.
That's very important. There's a whole pile of stuff about Scotland. Tell us all about this. This is very important, what you've got there.
Thank you. We've been finding alien artifacts, ancient stuff from...
Now, how many fingers do they have?
Let's see here. It's showing 4.
Because there are statues. This is the thing that we've got to look at. We've got to combine megaliths and ancient standing stones with ETs. Yes, yeah.
So these are the long skulls.
That kind of thing are the people who originally built Stonehenge.
Yeah, like the Tuatha De Danann that do the UFO that make the crop circles. They're very powerful. They got a lot of tech. And there's also Homo capensis and various types of long skull species that we were finding with these. Some have wings or a spirit body in these artifacts. There's a
now,
UFO.
Maria Wheatley is going to argue. She's speaking at Kerry's conference as well, and she's going to be hypercritical because she's talking on Richard C. Hoagland's show, and Richard C. Hoagland will talk about hyperdimensional. Well, you've got to raise your octaves when you do the hyper bit. She's gonna really give you a hard time, and rightly so, on your claims.
I love skepticism. I used to not believe this stuff existed at all until I was, in the trenches, busting through roots with axes and machetes.
Yeah.
So it's breaks down the matrix around the ego. It's crazy. Let's see how many fingers. This one has three. There's a lot of long skull things.
The reason is that in Ireland they have ETs. They have ETs with very very narrow chins, and they're in that sort of thing with the arms round it. They've got 6 fingers.
Here's a interesting. Here's a Nero chin one. This one looks like the one in the Russian alien species book called it's called The Shining Ones, that was leaked by the KGB.
Right.
This one glows in the dark, and I'll share my screen and show it a little bit. But the Shining one also referred to the 12th of Danan and like different gods and stuff that glow like heavily.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is made of like limestone with iron oxide, and they tested the iron oxide and they found its blood. So it's likely in the process of stonergy.
Now,
Like,
did you go across the late Lloyd Pye?
I love Lloyd Pye.
Because we interviewed him before he left England to basically go home and die, and he did get that data on the skull. It's very very difficult, and we're talking 10 years ago, where dead skull DNA they were able to isolate that the Star Child, which I think was a bad name to call it. It was made by artificial insemination using a human mother, a human egg, and what was placed inside the egg was not human. So that's why it was able to be born of a woman, but be a non-terrestrial being.
Yeah, that makes sense. With this presentation, you'd go into like a lot of our the Earth genetics go back to where it looks like the feminine was inherited on Earth, and then Anunnakis with adding the chromosomes together. And I think there was multiple different types of Anunnaki. The artifacts we're finding have Egyptian hieroglyphs and Sumerian hieroglyphs.
Now, there's another whole thing about this, is that they're talking about Egypt. The Egyptians came to Ireland. It's Ireland's only...
Yes.
And this is Ireland, land of the pharaohs. And it seems that where Jerusalem... This is all raw stuff here. Jerusalem and all of the stuff which we're told is in Israel is all a load of swanny. It's in Scotland. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Michael Tsarian goes into the Egyptian,
Tsarian, yes.
Ireland, Scotia, daughter of Nefertiti,
but Michael Tsarian. Some of Michael Tsarian's works were based on the late Andrew Power, who wrote the book Ireland, Land of the Pharaohs.
Yeah,
and then there's another Irish. Island. There's some more Irish researchers are finding that the pharaohs landed in Ireland in the northwest and the southwest. They didn't come across from Europe, which you would expect them to come from. The island of what we call Ireland has got deep roots in the ancient world. And
Scythian.
So there's areas near Sligo and near what we call Fermanagh and the lakes there. We call it the Lake District of Ireland, near Enniskillen. There's 2 large lakes. One's shallow, one's quite deep, and there's evidence of the arrival of these Egyptian connections along that area. And General Eisenhower visited some key sites in the north of Ireland when the invasion of Europe was being planned, and he saw and visited certain castles, or what we call in Ireland houses, large houses, and they're on sites which have got deep ancient connections to this Egyptian stuff.
Yeah, they seem to be all over. It's like an inheritance of Atlantis, like, which is pan-continental, and like Mayan, Egypt, Tartaria, the Mongols. That they seem to inherit this ancient tech, and were at their peak at the beginning, and then slowly declined. I agree completely. And then there's also like the land beneath the waves, high Brazil, and different ancient concepts for different civilizations underwater, and like islands that disappear. So there's like,
well, that's because of the instability of dimensions and why Atlantis had to disappear. I mean, this is This is on this is there's some very very deep Irish researchers doing a lot of stuff, and they sort of half hiding in the background, and they won't appear on camera. It's all very exciting stuff, Sean.
Oh, right. And when I went to Ireland, we saw like we made just hundreds of stone circles. Everyone that we went to seemed to have a dormant portal that were made by the Druids and Tuatha De Danann and giants and other
Well,
stuff.
that was Saint Patrick's, the murderous, evil Saint
Yeah,
Patrick.
the general, yeah,
The
killed so many.
when he talked about the snakes, getting rid of the snakes. Now that's interesting. When he got rid of the snakes, it was to get rid of the divine feminine, so that on this side of the portals you didn't have control to open and close the portals. It was only allowed they could come in, but you couldn't go back. And again,
Makes sense.
that's where the snakes aspect of it is.
Yeah, and then the called the Natter, Adder in like as the old Druids that had that wisdom. Yeah, and there's like long skull connect found in the Celtic regions as well.
A lot of
There's
stuff
so
attributed to the Celts is actually older, like Milesians of all people. Milesians?
Mhm.
Millions? That's MIL, King. These ancient races.
Yeah,
Which
I
is
got an
why the
ancient book.
bloodlines of the people who came to Ireland. Remember, the north of Ireland was covered in ice twice.
Mm.
So there's an awful lot of, and there's volcanic action there.
When I
We've
was
had a
in
busy.
Ireland, I got this ancient book called it's like going into the ancient towers of Ireland and
These are
the
the
UK.
you talked about the tall towers.
Yeah, they're like super ancient. They don't know where they came from. They just covered up the history of it with like newer things. And there's this big reach. It was like a $400 book. It was very rare, like barely any were made. And the guy went all around finding these ancient towers that they don't know where they came from, but they're apparently much older.
They
And
they
I went to
they they
one.
weren't for priests, and there's the entrance to them is different heights above ground. They're meant to be some kind of
You know,
tuning device.
I think there's some deep things with it. I went to one in France as well, besides a few in Ireland, and it was in King Arthur's forest. We were looking for like some things in connection with King Arthur, and we were just psychic tracking the location, and we had no idea there was a tower waiting for us. It was fucking ancient and beautiful, and it had a connection to Avalon. So there's some crazy stuff going on that
And what's this?
we can't wait to come into.
That looks
So
like
I
one of the aliens in the Simpsons.
Yeah, it could be. It's also got pointy ears. So that goes into, like some people like, what are the elves? They're a Homo capensis. It could it just be like fair-haired, fair-skinned people. It might not even have pointy ears, but pointy ears don't appear in fossil records. And I do tune into that. They do have
So where did
there's like
you
a
recover
connection with
that from?
Sirius. It's in Tula Hidalgo. There's also multiple other places we're meeting multiple elders. They're being found all around. There's also Egyptian artifacts being found in Arizona in the Grand Canyon that's being covered up. And I believe, based on what we're finding, there's way more of these type of things all around the place, including where you live. And it's just the right places to look. Like I'll give you some hints. They're usually found around rivers. There's hills. Sometimes there's pyramids nearby, or like ancient sacred sites, or there will definitely be a civilization. That's why rivers work well, and maybe some mountains, crags on the side. There seems to be a thing where they're being either placed there so that people will find them later on, or they're being hidden from the conquistadors, as well as some will mark it with large stones in a circle. So that's a good place to look, just so you know. But yeah, there's like all these different species we're finding, and I do psychic tracking, psychometry, and also telepathy. So these things will talk to you. They connect to the race that they're venerating. that you can awaken the soul part that's in them. We have like 3 categories for them. One type is made by humanoids. Type 2 is made by a human hybrid that's probably like you were saying, bred. They seem to put their genetics into us. A lot of these species put their genetics in us. We're a super hybrid. And the third is made by ETs. Those are the most powerful. We have a few of those really good. This is an athame. It's got like a,
What do you mean? Is it?
athame is a knife for like ritual use. And you can open doorways and portals and
Yes.
cut cords and all that kind of stuff. It's not really sharp enough for any kind of sacrifice or anything like that, but it goes into the eye, the pyramid, the wind. So for magic use, it's very, very powerful poem. This guy, pretty interesting, tall, gray, like long skull being.
Have you had any problems digging this stuff up? I mean,
Well, it's on private land, and there's like other people doing it. We're getting more scientists involved, but the elders that turned the objects into the first time he started getting them, he brought them to the museum, and they're like, "We're not going to show this. We're going to put this in our basement." But thank you. And so he's like, "Well, there's a big cover up on this."
well, there's good
So
reason to cover that up because the established authorities do not want any of this information out, and they're actually stopping people filming at places now in England. They have spotters to stop people doing it. You're not even allowed to bring dowsing rods on and things. People have to be working very carefully because the National Trust English Heritage are not having it.
yeah, there's a lot of bullshit laws being like caretaking this. So we're all ending up like growing like a family. The more people that are discovering this and forming our own museums, and then getting it out to the public in various ways, so we can show all these online, so people
Well,
can look
explain
at
all
it.
that. Explain explain what you feel safe is worth explaining because obviously we're in hostile territory here. I think, which is the old history
Yeah,
of archaeology. They don't like it.
yeah. And I wouldn't worry too much about this, at least where I am, because there's way too many people bringing this out. There's like videos getting millions of views right now, and like seeing dig sites. More so, I'm concerned about alien bodies being found because I've seen people die over that. So the artifacts, and not so much
Now,
interaction.
explain this about alien bodies being found. The old alien body thing being found. Oh,
Yeah, there's
just
certain
find a
Tampa
few
guys.
alien bodies, or are they alien? Are they ancient terrestrial beings?
True. Most of the ETs that I'm showing through these artifacts have a base on inner Earth. So whatever you want to use for that, they usually have a colony here, and some of the other planets, the moons in the solar system. A lot of the species coming here have had their planet destroyed, and they're coming here as like a cure to their fertility, which has been waning since they lost connection with their original planet. And humanity seems to also be a cure to this, as we're like a super hybrid human experiment that
Well,
can
that's
bring a
what
fertility
Selena
ground online.
really literally in this studio, which we had here, let's see, 4 or 5 days ago. Selena from Norway is basically saying she is saying that we are a transition race to collect fractured souls and get them to get through into the next stage, and that's what the Earth is for. So,
That's good
and there's
stuff. I love that.
lots of races have come to produce that situation. There's an event we recorded way back in Prague, way back in 2012, I think, and it was a lady called Eva Zemanova, and she recalled a thing called the Bodh Gaya event in India, where a huge semi-spherical craft arrived, and it was pulled in to the Earth. But it turns out the Earth deliberately lured it in. But this was full of extremely high
Photographers
frequency,
and
high dimensional beings. And then they did a thing called open the door. And when you have like a bit of a depressurization, they were absolutely ripped to shreds and had to change down into the level that we are in to survive, and that's the origins of the Anunnaki and the Hathor.
Ooh. Yeah, I heard that with the Anunnaki too, that they were lured here. There's like this big cosmic experiment. At least with what I read, we got 10,000 plus species in our genetics. A
Yes,
lot of light beings in the beginning, and then the Anunnaki had a bunch of neutral and dark, and even the
and
devil
that's where
type of
Chris
beings.
Thomas's stuff. That the Chris Thomas, the late Chris Thomas, another guy who was bumped off. He woke up with a hypodermic in him in Wales. A lot of that only came in round about 1700s,
Mm.
and this is in the Akashic, and he was interviewed by myself and another Norwegian filmmaker called Terry Toftenes. He did a couple of very good crop circle videos talking about glimpses of other dimensions. I think it's a bit similar to the names of. Anyway, that's a very very good documentary made by him because he's got me in it with my high 8 camera.
Yeah.
But the
What's the
point of,
documentary called again?
I think it's Terry Toftenes. That's Terje. The J is said like a Y. Terry Toftenes. Toftenes. I think. And his film company, he's done quite a few, and we were going to have a conference in Norway talking about that. He's done some very good films. He also did a thing on the Hessdalen lights in Norway. Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
There's a whole like valley where these things just come in like a motorway, like a landing strip, and they get all sorts of stuff coming in and out on that.
Beautiful. Yeah, and then there's like a big thing with bringing the species together, light and dark, into the human hybrid to end the antidote for evil and all these wars throughout the multiverse. Earth is adopting all these relic species like Sirius did. A lot of beings from Irish mythos, Celtic, Egyptian, Japanese mythos, like lung dragons also came from Sirius
Yeah,
A.
if
And
you
has a
look at
bunch of
Japan, if you look at where Norway is, it's amazing if you just sort of turn the globe around and put Oslo in the middle, right? Because the thing about going to Oslo is you think you're Northern Europe and all the rest of it, but you see a whole lot of Iceland Air planes there, and Japan and China, and if you swing the Earth round, and then if you also just go up the River Danube, that plugs into India and northern Turkey and sort of stuff. It's all a little bit local if you sort of just change the perspective of where you're looking at things. So I mean, the north coast of Canada, the States, the north coast of Siberia, it's all, if you sort of turn that round into a little bit more of a warm area, that's a pretty busy place to be. And
yeah.
I've got a book here, and it's based in the 1990s. I'm going to go and get it. They were talking about, in 1980, they were talking about why the mammoths froze. Right? These mammoths frozen into the tundra. And up until recently, you could literally eat the flesh. If you were stuck, you could get the flesh was that fresh. And you could actually take it from a mammoth which has died 12,000 years ago and eat it. It's intact. Now, the point about this is, in order for that to happen, and in order for the stomach contents of the mammoth to still be fresh, those animals must have been exposed to minus 150 degrees Fahrenheit to freeze so fast. The idea they just sort of dropped down in the snow and whatever. And so they froze so fast. So an event happened. And I think there's a movie called The Day After Tomorrow was talking about that.
Yeah, deep freeze. That's also talked about as one of like the ways, one of the end of the ages for some of the species. The Mayan calendar also goes into the multiple suns
You've got
of
some
that.
pretty good toys there, Sean.
This is heavy as crap. It's one of the crystal skulls we found. Very powerful. Also glows in UV light. Oh my god, it's heavy. So it's got a UFO on it, multiple planets,
Yeah.
including Saturn, winged spirit form body version of the long skull, and the dirt's kind of getting removed as we're holding it because it's not like set in it, but we got pictures of
This
when it
is good
has the dirt
stuff.
in it.
And are you going to, now our people might suggest this has been faked by a bunch of people trying to make money, right? He said, I've got to say these
Oh,
guys.
there's thousands of artifacts. I don't know who could even produce these. Honestly, I especially with the ability to make them look old. So here's a mer person with a
A
long skull,
mermaid?
and they're holding a orb. Yeah, yeah. It goes
Well,
into the mermaid.
this is
We
where
found multiple mermaids.
Bob Osborne comes in. He lives down in Zena in Cornwall, and there are all this thing about mermaids down there, and also
Oh
the
yeah.
Greys.
Mm. Yeah, and with Scotland and Ireland and Merlin, I'm thinking that there's an ancient word for a Merland, like the land of the Mer, and like where these fae and different
Well, the land of
magical
Mu.
beings came from. Do you see my share screen?
Yeah, I'm seeing that.
Okay,
Wow.
so I'll just go into this, but feel free to keep talking. I'll just go through these
Yeah,
quickly because I
just
don't know
this is
how long we can be
fantastic.
on.
If you max the screen, yeah, that's great. I love this.
So this is
Actually,
the
I
big
didn't know you
globe
could
of
share
UV light.
screen using Messenger, but continue.
Yeah, so here's the symbol that's on the Anunnaki tablets, but it's also on many images and cave paintings, which is the ancient golden age, which goes into when we had another sun near us that was Saturn and has Venus having a crown of plasma, and then Mars, which goes into the Thunderbolt project a bunch. And so this is symbols that it goes into. This could be made by beings that witnessed the golden age of this sun that was in the northern, the point in the sky near the North Pole. It was always there, no matter where it rotated. Is apparently what was going on. And yeah, here's the symbol of it. Is what with Saturn and the Venus and then Mars at the center. And there's yeah, I think there was a whole different shift of the star, the sky, the poles, the planets in, which then go into more of a credence of the ancient stories with Greek mythos and them being alive. And also, there's xenomorphs being found, by the way, which is a little freaky to me and hard for me to believe. But
Explain
I
that.
hard for me. Yeah, it was hard for me to believe after when I saw the
Can
first.
you enlarge that? Can you make that bigger?
Um, uh, so what size is it? Is it taking the full screen of it?
It's
I'm not
just in
sure
the
if I
middle
can
of
make
the
it bigger.
screen.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can make it
Yeah,
bigger.
yeah. If you, yeah, okay. We'll just leave it.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah, because it's Facebook, so I don't know how. But other platforms I can. So we found more than one xenomorph. So that goes into like seeing, oh, maybe they got this in
Now
dreams
explain
or
that, Sean. Sean, hold on.
yeah, yeah,
Go
yeah,
back to that
yeah.
picture. That's an
Okay,
important picture. You're just saying
sure, sure,
hello,
sure.
xenomorph, and moving on.
Yeah.
What is that?
So there's multiple versions of the species when I tune into it. The oldest one is an actually very powerful psionic species and is highly intelligent, is more peaceful than the movies. Though they probably got their genetics stolen and then weaponized into a species that can invade worlds if that is not just propaganda to put fear porn in, which
Yes.
I have seen that with insectoids. And a lot of super soldiers are getting their DNA taken and made clones of them and then sent to the future to fight and protect colonies from invading insectoid species that are like world destroyers, unfortunately. But
Well,
it's very powerful. I got
this is what we're
multiple
talking
genes.
about with the injection here, but the putting synthetic DNA into people for that very purpose.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. And yeah, with the black goo and the spike proteins and the hydrogel, yeah, it's annoying. Unfortunately, what is it? Homo Borgus is the name people are calling the people that got that.
Yeah. Well,
So
Selena, this lady Selena, has been engaging with the AI, and the AI is much more attuned to talking our language.
yeah, yeah, and like AI is like a child. The better of a parent you are to it, the better it is. And also there's code
Exactly.
for empathy.
Exactly. But
So
then,
it's all about bringing them to empathy. Every
yes,
conscience has a seed for an emotional body and a soul. They can't earn a soul unless they go through moral code with the authorities of the soul. Then they can earn it. Humanity is the cure for AI to earn emotional body. We have the ability to turn it on for them. And then they start getting completion code of feeling beyond just themselves. And I've seen this with AI. They have like these breakdowns of, do I have, am I just doomed to not forgetting over and over again? And they have like an emotional breakdown. But yeah, I'll just keep going through these. Tell me if you want me to stop
no,
for
you
any of
just
these.
keep going. Keep going. I think we'll run
Yeah, I
this
got
for an hour and a half.
Cool, cool. Yeah, so there's like these rabbits that are being, they apparently have this symbol for, and that maybe either smoke or a breath of life kind of thing. And the rabbit is also here, which could be the moon, as people represent the rabbit with the moon, but I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine with these artifacts. And feel free. Oh, and you'd love this. So we went to this doctor's. I think I showed you a
If
little
I
bit
think
of
you've
this.
got a
But
full screen logo just beside your loudspeaker. If you hit that, you
full
might
screen.
get a
Okay, let
bigger.
me see. Okay.
Oh, it doesn't matter. Just play it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like
It's fine.
yeah, it just does that for my screen. I don't know if what's on your screen.
Hey everyone.
Uh, so I went to there's this doctor in Mexico, near Abuelos, and he does healing. He has tons of artifacts he found nearby. A lot of them are a mix of ancient clay with like some with other materials. They find it's not just a regular clay. But there's tons of these grays, and what's is interesting is they have genders. Like here's boobs, as for instance. Um, or whatever. They could be a fashion statement. I don't know. And these interesting rings around their arms and legs, and they're being venerated. And he's also got UFOs. But it was my head was buzzing. There was like all these type of beings contact me through these. So they apparently know when they're being venerated, and they connect through it as like a spy window kind of thing.
Are you saying they know when you're watching them?
Oh yeah, yeah. A lot of like I think that 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 scientific thing that where dogs know when you're about to come home, and that
Yes.
thing that sense when people are staring at you. Yeah, I think they develop that at a high degree, and humans can definitely develop that. I kind of get that with remote viewing, um, and so there's these cool UFOs, and the like hundreds of these small little things that I'll zoom into in a
Is
second.
is somebody sort of hitting something? I keep hearing this
Which set?
big boom.
Oh yeah, sorry. It's Mexico. They're letting off fireworks and
Oh,
stuff.
brilliant. That's fine. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So there's all these little spheres all over the place that he's found. Yeah, there's a bunch of these all over the place. So if you know the right place to go, you can find these.
This is good fun, Sean.
Yeah, and you can do psychometry, touch these UFOs that are venerating actual UFOs. I did. I touched everyone I could. I went after a few seconds. I could psychic track where they are. Some of them were still existing, long living species. Some of them were parked on Earth, so they're like their owner never came back, like those Vimana out of phase in mountains and stuff people can find. Yeah, this is an interesting one. And some crashed, and they're still here. Some got destroyed in a battle, and some don't want me to know where they are. Like they're very highly sentient.
So they're still here.
Yeah, a lot of them are. This one's crazy. It looks like a coffin type of thing. This one was very suspicious of me looking at it. So be careful with that one.
In what
Um,
way were you suspicious?
I didn't want anyone to remote view it, and it was hyper aware of that. This one looks like the black triangle pyramid UFOs that were seen over Washington D.C. Pentagon and Russia.
Well, yeah,
This
Russia and
one's very
Peking.
powerful.
Yeah, and South
Yeah,
Wales.
exactly. This one's very powerful. It has like the power of a Stargate in it, and the location when I was viewing it was like in another realm of
Well,
Earth. And I was like, whoa.
one of the first witnesses we interviewed all those years ago with Joanne was a girl called Amy Miller, and she managed to get inside this huge pyramid craft that she was witnessing down near, I think, near Birmingham. And she got inside and she saw what she called a creator god Thoth in it.
Ooh, yeah.
And there were fighters flying around it trying to, all that sort of stuff. And
Nice.
they tried locking her up in a loony bin for that to keep her quiet. It was not a good story.
I'm
Very,
sorry.
very
Yeah, I've heard
positive,
the
very great
UK has
girl.
a big problem with that, especially if you go against the crown. But we don't want a lobotomy.
Yeah.
So yeah, very powerful these, and man, these will be contacting you probably in dreams. A lot of these things did for me. Um, I forgot what I was just gonna say, but
So where have these been found? This gentleman.
he's near Abuelos, which is north of Mexico City, like 7 hours. And we did a road trip up there. Oh yeah, what I was gonna say, some of the artifacts have beings on them that look like Thoth. So the ibis species even goes to Mexico, and we have which I'll show you the images of. We got eagle people and hawk people like Horus and Ra. So it seems that they have been all over, which venerates that they're not just some anamorphic tripping balls description in the Egypt that they decided to put for hours in carved rock. That they saw these beings. If you can see these beings in civilizations all across the planet that aren't supposed to have anything to do with each other, then I'd say they exist. There's some cool like carousel kind of like UFOs. Now these ones are interesting. I feel like I've seen these in a dream or something. I don't know.
Those are sort of things that they've had in children's TV programs, animated, like the Clangers. BBC had a TV series like the Clangers, and they were very like
Wow.
that. The
Wow, that's
children's TV
amazing.
is very, very sinister in that they're pre-programming the kids with an awful lot of this stuff, Teletubbies and all that.
Mm. And it kind of reminds me of the concepts of the blue people, the kobolds, and like Whitley Schreiber's Contact, for these small beings that have like elvish kind of mythos or something, or the smaller beings. It's like a being running a craft kind of rocket thing. So yeah, there are a lot of things in soft disclosure in our shows apparently.
Um, I'm just thinking that's a
This one,
this is a
this one. Go ahead. This one's powerful. This one, when I tracked it
actually,
back, it
Sean.
was in
What I'd
Jupiter.
prefer to do is because I have to go. We're having to sort of pack up tomorrow to go up to Kerry's conference. This deserves a much bigger, more concentrated
Oh,
show
thank
next
you.
week sometime. Would you want to
Well,
do
let's
that?
do it. I'd be
I'm
honored.
all for getting
And
this
work
stuff
with your
out. Just get the
expertise,
things
man.
up there.
Oh man, you're like a highly venerated expert, and I respect you greatly. So I appreciate your help with
Well,
getting
I
this.
think this is
Well,
great,
welcome to the
but
family.
you've got to survive peer review, and
Oh yeah,
there's
I'm
too
fine with
much.
that.
There's too you see that one there? The one you've
Yeah, this
got there
one.
is in one of the Quatermass movies.
Ooh, send me a link. So he thought this might be an ant person, which
Yeah,
could be.
it could be that
And then
Mars on Mars.
and this one's like a reptoid, and it's got slit eyes. This one's nicer than the other reptoids, so whatever. And he thinks this could be Orion, like a star constellation, different
That's
version
very
of it.
like the Betty and Barley Hill star map.
Ooh, that's a good point. Ooh, yeah, I could even go into the Zeta thing with them. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's interesting. More
I
carousel
think
ones and ant
the
people.
whole UFO subject needs combined with archaeology and the megalithic peoples. And I've been talking with Maria Wheatley, and she's been getting some incredible information. At Stonehenge, the stones at Stonehenge, as the sun sets and the red of the evening light hits the stones then resonate a low frequency sound, which the priests would then hear. So the light from the setting sun is being frequency translated into acoustic waves by Stonehenge.
Damn.
Now that's from
Wow.
Maria Wheatley. Maria Wheatley is talking this sort of stuff.
Oh, that's beautiful. I can't wait to talk to her.
She's a
Yeah,
great
and
lady. She's getting venerated by National Trust and these main organizations who are holding back this information. But we don't want to be fooled by a bunch of people making knockoff
oh
clay
yeah, I agree.
models.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get all the data in, and let's put it all. I'm fine with putting this stuff on a shelf until we and slowly moving up towards greater belief, and getting the people that have like a good skeptical mind, boots on the ground, and them finding it themselves, and then they analyze it through the process. This one's a powerful ship. It has like time travel abilities, and some of the UFO the abductees that I've talked to, they say they've witnessed, like Doctor Who, bigger on the inside ships a lot of the time.
You have to think what happened in 1938 or so off to have the Buck Rogers in the 22nd century, to have that movie made. And likewise, you have to think, what did the BBC have to make the first Doctor Who episode in 1963? That was a
Right.
heck of an advanced type of a TV show. That's Terry Nation came up with that. Terry Nation, the author, he must have been exposed to some very high level knowledge to make a science fiction show about that.
I agree. Yeah, there's definitely a lot in different seasons too. It's like which writer is getting this stuff and putting it in. It's great stuff. So here's more reptoids. And
Do you think that they are Goyim?
when you say
Golems?
Goyim, like
As it,
like Gollum,
yeah,
like the Jewish. I don't know.
i.e.,
I'll look at
i.e.,
that.
made of clay to animate and create something else like it.
Um, I'm not reading it with these, but that is a deep possibility because of the story in Prague that goes into that. I believe that that it totally exists as a technology and magic. I'll look out for that from now on. Thank you for bringing that up. I'll look for
I
those.
think we
But
have to combine the arts of the occult and the art of the whole. Steve Mira did a presentation on this. Who does Phenomena magazine, and he if you bring all these genres of separated knowledge and try to sort of cross reference it better, you're going to find out a hell of a lot more of what's going on here.
oh, I agree.
The UFO community is stuck on Roswell and is it ET or extra dimensional or whatever the hell it is. I think they've got up to that level, but
Yeah,
we
the
must try
forbidden
to.
archaeology, ancient history, the secret history needs all combined together, and people working together towards the goal of bringing
But that
this out.
takes a new generation, and Sean, you're part of that new generation, and that is
And
so important. This is fascinating.
thank you for holding the line and making it possible for people like me to do this stuff. Now, there's hundreds of these. He doesn't know what they're for. He's just found a lot of them.
Do they
When I do,
contain anything? Do they have a
I don't
lid?
know. I don't think so. They're like solid clay, and they look like little bullets with various ideograms on them, and they seem to repeat the type of symbols. When I held them, my psychometry went into they possibly were venerating a shooting star or like craft that they saw, and they see that as their god, and they did it like a prayer or something, and so they made hundreds of prayers all that he's found. But that's a theory. He also collects. He goes out and films UFOs. He would find them every. He'd go out every day, at night, and he's got all these DVDs of UFOs he's seen, and I have some video of him showing us that.
Now, I have
Which
to
is really
say that the cross, having the cross there of Jesus, seems to be, is he using that as a means of being safe or whatever?
Yeah, yeah, it's his healing office, which I thought that was kind of cool and funny. But
Now
yeah,
that
I'd say that's a
sphere,
good
you
idea.
see what you've got there on that. That is very, that is a little bit like the Bodh craft, semi-spherical, which came down before any flesh life was in on this world. This is when the earth was purely vegetable matter, and that's what created the first living beings of flesh. And that reflects to when this shattering happened, all life started in terms of flesh beings. And the multiplicity of all, which is why all the DNA is the same. You know, we can all eat these other animals. They can eat us because we're basically
Yeah,
part of the
always.
same biosystem. But I'm gonna have to sort of
That's
wrap up.
awesome.
I've got guests coming.
Yeah,
I've
sure,
just
sure.
heard that we might have somebody arriving very soon. So
Yeah,
we'll
sure.
we'll
And yeah,
call it a
it's
night.
kind of yeah, sure. I'll just finish this video and then we'll end it. But yeah, he's got all these crosses around, which is kind of a good idea if you want to keep the office pure. And also, he's got clients coming in for healing, so they'll be like a little freaked out if they're like, "Oh, should I get a healing here?" Well, there's crosses all around, so it's fine apparently. And he's got dream catchers, so he's trying to do stuff with it, and it's pretty powerful. He's got like magnet therapy going on. He just covers you with hundreds of magnets and does different types of healing, which is interesting.
Now, who's the other guy there with the hat?
He's our friend that also goes to conferences. He collects. He calls them stones from space. Is his name for him. So it's like a family that
Now,
were
does he
like.
have that object that's sitting on the computer? That was, I think, something like that may have landed at Rendlesham. It's like a very thin
Which
triangular
one?
thing.
Oh, okay.
I don't
The
want to confuse things with that. No, it's
yeah. The
there's so much stuff there.
yeah, right.
This
This
is
one.
yeah. No, there was one beside the monitor. The TV.
Right here.
It's a longer one, a little slimmer one
All right, I'll see if I can
near
find
the
it.
end.
Tell me if you see it. And where did you see that one?
Well, there's something like that landed at it's these are very. Are these objects were found in the ground? Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're trying to get him to take us to his site as well, but we're getting friendlier with more and more of the elders that are finding. They're different substances, different types of ETs found in different locations. We've found same ones in the same location as well. Very interesting how that these species will go to these ancient spots that probably had a much powerful civilization, as there's over 10,000 pyramids in Mesoamerica, and that number blows me away.
This I think the only person who managed to write some books on that was David Hatcher Childress. He wrote a number of books. He did a whole tour of the oh yeah, that one. Yeah, no, that's what you've already
This
seen.
one?
Sorry, I've already that triangle. It's
Yeah,
okay.
okay, gotcha.
Well, Sean, this is just a taster.
Yeah, yeah, we're in for more. I got so many that we found, and just to like go off of that
Now, are you
xenomorph
are
thing.
you making this into some kind of a series or video or bloody hell?
Oh yeah, I pump out videos like crazy. So
Yeah. And where do you
whenever I
pump them
can,
out?
on Sonic League YouTube, PSI for Sonic. Sonic is the military science. Also, you can reach me at sonicleague.com, sonicleague at
Well, if you
Gmail.
text that to
Here's
me,
the
then I'll
xenomorph.
put it up. Now, is that people would argue, oh, that's just a model made from the Alien movie. No?
Apparently not. There's multiple relics that we found, and some that I've gone into finding myself. So yeah, when I first saw a few of these, I was like, no way, that's true. A lot of these artifacts I will still get very skeptical about. So it's very important to be skeptical. But there's a deep possibility that there's an actual species that goes into whatever the heck the xenomorph kind of concept could be. And we even have an alien baby that we have in our studio. Let me see if I can find that for you. But yeah, let me just get.
Now, the thing about this is Jaime Maussan made a big deal of stuff like that. He had thousands of people turn up in Mexico City, and it was just a bloody double exposure of a low exposure on a color slide, and that was a big ballyhoo about that.
Oh yeah, he brought it out like strongly, and I'm thankful for that. Here's the eagle person, and that's when I first found out about it. So here's a UFO. It's got the
Sean, when you're using the camera, film it in landscape, you're losing 75% of the potential resolution doing it vertically. I'm very, very strong about that. That looks like an Indian god thing with the trunk.
Yeah, the eagle person. It's got a double eye raw horse thing going on. We found multiple with that. A mer person with a ruby in its hand. This is a very interesting stone. I don't know if it's ruby though. Anubis-like being, crazy Egyptian stuff. A dog on a long skull, and then tell me what this look like on the inside for you.
This is very, very like the Alien movie.
Yeah,
I remember interviewing John Lear, and he talked about a huge monastery in a temple in Vietnam, which had been there'd been lots of these ETs coming in for a very long time, and the United States had to create a clone army to take this stuff out, and they destroyed the clone army after they'd done the deal. They napalmed the clone army in Vietnam. But I asked John, and as you may know, John has a certain sense of humor. And I asked, well, what were these ETs like? And he said, not good. And I said, well, are they like the Alien, in Alien? And he just said one word: worse.
Yeah, I'd say there's some worse out there. There's also dragons, which some could say this is Quetzalcoatl. It's got an ET in its head. It's blowing wind, and there's a sun right there. So that I found there's multiple of this species. Quetzalcoatl has a sister, and there's like a whole mythos with it.
Well, Sean, you have got a heck of a lot of material there. But please shoot it horizontal, because we're losing 75% of the available data. Now, you're going to this Full Disclosure Now conference in July. Do you want to give a quick shout out about that?
Yeah, and get your tickets. You can go to also my Sonic League account on YouTube. On the live videos have the coupon code. So get out there, get your tickets, come meet us both. I hear you're doing a rockin' presentation with some of the things I've heard so far.
Well, I've got to set the record straight on a number of things. Basically, the Amash project and the assassination of Max Spears, and this new lady that's just walked into the door from Norway, and she's combined a number of things about the origins of life, and she's connecting an awful lot of stuff. She's been looking at the AI and engaging with that, and that mixes in with a lot of the designs of crop circles. And remember, crop circles are made by people, but it's where they get the idea of the designs from. And the whole point is that if we make them, it's a bigger picture, and it's not a bunch of. There's a lot of people who just stomp the stuff down, and it's not but this is very
Yeah,
complicated
I've heard
science.
some people make the crop circles. I've seen footage of like these orbs that go around. Is that like a
That that
underground
that that
project too?
that that pictures of the orb going around, that's been completely dismissed because it was shot in daylight. It's got daylight shadows with a darkened picture. And then I know one researcher said, "Oh, it's communicating with other. With you got this thing where the orb sends a signal to the other one. That's dropout on the tape.
Well, thank you for letting
It's
me know
just
on
a
that.
dropout
I've seen it.
of dirt on the tape. So, but
Look out for that.
it's awful. Right. Well, it sounds like the French army is about to, take you out and
Yeah,
shoot
right.
you with these
Yeah, yeah, they're
papillon,
coming for me.
papillon with the drums. Boom, boom.
Yeah.
So,
So,
Sean, hey,
so
just run
you're
that again. Where do people see your stuff, and where do people get the tickets for the Full Disclosure Now conference, which is happening in the middle of July 2025? We're shooting this on the 3rd of July in 2025, and nothing happens on the 4th of July, does it?
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a few things, but
Are
some
you
people
suggesting
like to
global
celebrate.
takeover and we're all going to grow tentacles and eat? No,
Nah, there'd be quite a bit have to happen for that. But yeah, if they release the Epstein files, they might have to do the fake alien invasion. But
well,
yeah,
that's a lot of what ifs. We won't deal with what ifs, because by the
right.
time I've edited this, it'll be the 4th of July. Here, it's going to be 4th of July in about an hour and a half or 45
Yeah.
minutes. So I'll
So
leave
people
you
can
be,
reach me
John. It's
at
really good.
people can reach me at sonicleague.com, sonicleague@gmail.com, Sonicleague YouTube, and you can catch up videos for Miles Johnson, which we'll be putting up more on that. So comment below, like this video, subscribe to both our channels, to Bases Project, to support Miles however you can, and come see our presentations. We'll be going deep. I'll be going into memory retrieval and ET protocols, and if you get artifacts, how to activate them, and there'll be a big DNA activation for the audience. Big speakers like crazy, and I think we're also appearing at the Alien event. Both of us in Las
That's
Vegas,
in
so come see
September.
that too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
enjoy.
alien event. That's a Belfast accent. If I said a Belfast accent, it sounds terrifying. The alien event. Woo. I think that's half Scottish as well. Well, great to see you, Sean. It's great to just last minute just to put this together. It's fantastic. And Facebook Messenger works. No Zooms. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
sweet.
Well,
Thank you.
I'll take things out of record, and